All right, Nate, your turn.
All right. Got a
That's
couple
your
of
theme music.
articles here, or so I'm gonna take a trip to another deserty area in Southern California.
Okay, I'm
Talk
excited.
about this article is called "The Night Stalker of Edwards Air Force Base" from the files of the late Bobby Ann Slate, Bigfoot investigator. Uh, this is out of that book. It's been edited down into a smaller thing, but this is
Into something more palatable for the modern man.
I guess I think she only wrote it like 20 years ago or something, probably. But it was a routine night at the Edwards AFB Air Security Police Desk until the frantic call came in from the patrol on duty at the restricted site known as Project Logic. Also, just quick aside, if you don't know about Edwards Air Force Base, it's fairly close to the JPL, the Jet Propulsion Lab. There's a lot of like test pilot stuff that used to go on. A lot, the like rocket fuel was invented down there. They still to this day. There's tons of UFO sightings and stuff. Edwards is huge for just odd phenomena.
Get into it.
Uh, yeah, and this is their Bigfoot, I guess. Their Sasquatch slash potentially Yucca Man. There's a few different things that can be tied into it. Project Logic. The man's voice was urgent and high pitched with fear. Send a patrol, quick. There's this huge form coming toward me. Hurry. His voice trailed off, and the sounds of gunshots could be heard through the receiver. Then there was nothing but an ominous silence. When the patrol arrived, the guard was found in a dazed, incoherent state after having fired the full magazine in his gun. The Office of Special Investigation, the OSI, was called in. According to one military source, the patrol vehicle was found overturned, the patrolman's rifle snapped in two, and huge five-toed bare human-like footprints crisscrossed the site. The patrolman had not been injured, but was terrified.
Yeah. Whoa. What? I mean,
Yeah,
go
so it
on.
came tearing in, just, I assume, single-handedly flipped like a Jeep. Then after this guy shot at it, presumably pretty close because it's running at him, emptied his entire magazine. It didn't stop the thing, grabbed his rifle, broke it, and then I did maybe just screamed with its horrific breath and glowing eyes in his face until he turned into a sniveling mass on the floor. Uh, I mean, that's how I would have written it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's you took me there. What a chilling
Well,
scenette.
while no official report of this incident can be found in the archives of the base's historical department, rumors circulated throughout the Air Force Police that the man at Project Logic was deeply affected by his encounter that night. They said he was placed in a military hospital and eventually sent to an overseas base. Which I looked at some other stuff about this, and this guy he just got deployed to a theater of war shortly thereafter, which is also kind of, I mean, he might have just been transferred because he was going to be called up anyway. But
But it's funner to believe that he was sent there because he
yeah,
knew too much.
yeah. In the spring of 1974, Edwards AFB security policeman Sergeant Michael House was on night patrol on the outskirts of the powerful communications site known as Mars Station, which maintains radio contact with other military installations around the globe. A nearby microwave tower, looming like a lonely sentinel in the darkness, stood surrounded by a wooden fence posted with signs advising that explosive devices, electrically operated or magnetically charged, would detonate within a certain radius. Sergeant House was patrolling in the area of the abandoned sled track once used for testing G forces when he saw, quote, it. I'd gotten a new spotlight and was trying it out, the sergeant said. Heading back to the main base, I noticed maybe 200 to 300 yards to my left these large blue eyes. I do a lot of night hunting, and it was strange. They were larger than anything I'd ever seen before. Their diameter had to be about 4 inches apart and 7 feet off the ground. I stopped the truck and sat there watching them. It was too dark to see any body shape of the thing. The blue glows proceeded toward my truck at the right angle for about 100 yards and then stopped. So this is what he sees off to uh, the side of him. It's just these glowing blue eyes. And they came to call this thing
Wait,
blue eyes.
blue?
Yeah, yeah, big, oversized blue eyes.
All right.
But on a giant dog, like I would say, kind of like the way that they draw gray alien eyes, where they're just these
Yeah.
big, bigger than the head should be able to take. Except this thing is huge.
Damn. Okay. I have no description or analogy or continue.
Yeah, no, I was reading some other stuff also where they talked about. I guess this thing was named Blue Eyes. Many people have seen it. Like this is one of the few named Sasquatch that we've, I think, covered. Uh,
Damn.
Quote, I'd gotten a new spotlight and was, nope, I just read that. The hair bristled on the back of the patrolman's neck as the larger than human eyes began circling and again moving closer to his vehicle. A rank smell like something rotten permeated the air. The thing moved closer again, now coming within 50 yards of the truck, but still its shape could not be discerned through the brush in the desert. Which is that's a Yucca Man thing too. They smell awful. Like they just stink like death and desert.
Oh yeah, that's the thing with a lot of Bigfoot-ish creatures. They all have the worst stench to them.
Yeah. Which I mean, I guess makes sense. They're not bathing very often.
They have to bathe. Like bunnies bathe all the everything cleans themselves. It's insane to think that Bigfoot's out there just not cleaning himself. I bet he may not use soap, but they clean because you wouldn't live for long if you didn't wash.
Right. I mean, of all of the cryptids, you would think Bigfoot would be the one most prone to cleaning because it's the most human-like. But maybe it's like a super lazy, shitty human. Maybe they're just, they're Bigfoot's going for the dread look.
That's fair.
In his long hairs.
Yeah, but he's doing it the worst way possible. He just doesn't understand. He's just doing it from what he read in a crazy Californian white supremacist book.
Yeah.
Bigfoot look, but doesn't understand how this gets results.
Just at that moment, the truck radio advised Sergeant House that he should proceed directly back to the main base, and he quickly left the area. He returned 3 hours later, but there was no trace of the blue eyes. Rain washed out the possibility of locating any tracks the following day. The movement of the eyes was extremely fast, Sergeant House recalled. Another thing that bothered me was that they didn't bob up and down. It was like two lights on a wire moving from one point to another. He was ribbed a good deal while making out, that was the end of the quote. He was ribbed a good deal while making out this official report on the incident, which was to set the standard of non-reporting from other patrols that encountered strange things in subsequent months. So, typical, I think, in the military thing. Nobody's actually saying they saw some shit because everyone's just going to give them hell.
Yes, but I mean, and we're having our fun here as well.
Right, but we're also saying we are holding ourselves open to this thing being real and important.
I'm accepting it already. Bigfoot's got beautiful blue eyes.
Glowing, in fact. The CEO wanted to believe these men were simply overly imaginative. After all, the desert could produce some eerie effects at night, and then too, reports of fantastic creatures in and around restricted areas didn't look good in the official log. You're only hearing the wind, he told the men staffing the Mars station on the midnight shift, who said they'd been hearing some unusual sounds as well as seeing the dark form of something walk past the building. This is again, numerous people are like, yeah, hey man, there's definitely a guy out there. Shot at him, we've shined lights on him, we're hearing crazy shit. It's the wind.
It's the wind, man. The wind is about 8 feet tall and has beautiful blue eyes. So
a figure which would have had to be almost 8 feet tall to be seen through the high windows, something which stepped on and pulverized a glass soda pop bottle in its path. So apparently, yeah, it's also out there causing other weird problems. In several instances, calls to the air police about creatures moving in the desert did turn out to be wild burros moving silently through the sage at night.
Wild burros.
Yeah. feel like they meant to say a different thing there, but better maybe.
But nope, they agreed that was what they meant.
And while their eyes are blue, there's almost no reflection due to limited pigmentation. Also, they wouldn't be huge and 8 feet off the ground. If there were official investigations by the OSI, the men on patrol seldom heard the outcome unless there was some natural explanation. Thus, they wondered about the rumor circulating that 3 men on duty at a complex near the bombing range had called in for help. As the story went, when the patrol arrived, they found the security guards unconscious. The door leading into the building was ripped off its hinges, and the sophisticated electronic equipment within had been demolished.
Damn.
Just the tale? It was told to an air policeman by a member of the patrol investigating that call for help. So we have more cover-up, it seems like. This is happening to a lot of people.
Yes, like this is like trying to cover up a trail, it sounds like almost.
Yeah, or I mean, and if it's not a Bigfoot, then this is somebody breaking into, at the time, one of the more advanced military facilities in the country.
Yeah,
like,
right?
Doing some industrial sabotage.
I'm enthralled. I am enthralled.
Yeah. The Rocket Propulsion Lab lies on the eastern edge of Edwards AFB and utilizes a vast area of the facility. It contains installations ranging from gigantic multi-million-pound thrust rocket stands to smaller, highly specialized test equipment which can capture and instantaneously analyze the exhaust gas produced by a rocket engine. It's here that rockets and similar hardware are tested for the study of propulsion equipment under conditions of long-term exposure to the environment. It is also here that weapon systems are developed and tested. Certain areas are off limits to civilians, and signs warn to keep out of the potentially toxic areas. Fun side fact, and I think everyone already knows this, but the propulsion lab was partially founded by Jack Parsons, the guy who invented chemical rocket fuel, who was a Crowleyist and blew himself up, which is always fun. Yeah, I mean, not on purpose. He accidentally...
that story ended differently than I expected it to.
There's a really fantastic book that I read years ago called Strange Angel, all about him. I highly recommend it. If you want to find out about how he and L. Ron Hubbard summoned a light being in the desert and had to L. Ron Hubbard had to throw a bunch of knives made of light to dispel it.
Yeah, we're gonna do that next week. That's my segment next week.
It's pretty great. Air Police Sergeant Barton had an open mind about, quote, creatures. His relatives in Missouri had seen and shot at the mammoth Bigfoot-like monster known as Momo, and though he trusted their accounts of the incident, he also realizes the doubt and ridicule they were subjected to when he talked about it, or when they talked about it. As a result, no formal report was made to the Air Security Police concerning what happened in the winter of 1974 while Barton was on patrol in the vicinity of the Rocket Propulsion Laboratory and the strange blue lights he saw in the nearby mountains. Which is a different thing too, because the blue lights in the mountains seems to be more of a UFO thing.
I mean, Bigfoot's been seen climbing in some UFOs sometimes.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's just it might be coincidental that the blue-eyed yucca squatch is also hanging out with blue UFOs.
Okay, that's fair. Straight up, that's fair.
It's just also fun that this guy from Missouri is like, yeah, my family, you know, they used to hunt Momo all the time, and people just they've shot it on multiple different times.
It's a right of manship. Some counties hunt the snipe. We hunt the Momo.
He's like he's from the Missouri version of the Belmonts, the Bartons that instead of hunting Dracula, hunt Momo.
Yep.
Assuming the lights to be from a car, that is the strange lights in the mountains, Barton drove toward them in order to intercept any unauthorized trespassers. The lights vanished when he arrived at the site where he had last seen them, but now he found his vehicle mired in the soft desert sand. Walking approximately 2 miles back to base, the sergeant intercepted the patrol and they radioed for a tow truck. When the truck arrived and everyone returned to the sergeant's vehicle, they found 3 towed tracks measuring 14 inches long with what appeared to be a clawed digit at the heel, which is like chupacabra territory.
Kinda, yeah.
I mean, that's too long for it, but it's
They
definitely
migrate
much
just like
weirder.
any glorious creature of God.
Well, it's also kind of like, if you live in Texas, like I have friends in Austin who there's a whole thing where like when the rains come, it pushes all of the giant hill insects into town.
Okay, yep.
So you'll have like spiders crawling into your house that are like, oh, that's the size of two heads. It's just
Just
shit that
crawling
comes out
into
of the.
your house. No, I don't want to know that exists, Nate. Stop telling me.
But I mean, I think this is a similar kind of environment. Maybe there's just weird hill monsters out there that you don't see until they get forced out of the rocks.
That's fair.
The wind was blowing soft sand, and the footprints were filling in rapidly, making any precise identifications difficult. But whatever it was had completely circled the truck as if inspecting it, and then walked off on two legs into the desert. So they know us. They know what we are. Getting a good idea.
All right.
3 weeks later, and also on patrol, Air Patrol Sergeant Jones was parked in the region of the rocket site. It was close to midnight. The moon was up when suddenly Jones noticed a shape moving across the skyline of a nearby hill. While he couldn't estimate its height, the trunk area or girth was described as immense. The sergeant quickly grabbed his radio microphone and called HQ. Tell the replacement to hurry up. I might need some help, he urged. As Jones looked back again to the hill, two large luminescent green-blue orbs, like eyes, were moving towards him. They didn't really seem to me like they were bouncing the way a person would when walking, he said. They kind of floated or were moving on an easy glide. Car lights appeared down the road, and the patrolman lost no time in getting out of his truck and walking to meet the vehicle. At that moment, he was extremely grateful that the men had responded so quickly to his call for help, but that wasn't actually so. The other vehicle had been ordered into the area in response to a report about strange lights being observed in the hills. Yet no unauthorized cars had been located, and now the glowing eyes had disappeared. All that remained in the vicinity were unusual marks on the ground. The two rounded depressions measured 6 inches and 2 inches in diameter, respectively. So this is another different footprint.
Damn. So where is this again?
This is
they
at
got
Edwards Air Force Base.
Monster country. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, it's kind of I don't know if it's in the Mojave or if it's like Mojave adjacent, but that area. There were footprints as well, foot tracks as well. They were all over the place, Jones said. There were so many of them that I couldn't follow any trail. Barton, who had found tracks around his truck a few weeks earlier, said they were similar to what he had seen. The other man along on the patrol didn't get out of the car. He said he didn't want anything to do with it.
I don't know where I fall into that because this is getting insane. But I got a gun.
Yeah,
this is an Air Force base.
Yeah, they're all definitely heavily armed. Or I mean, maybe not heavily, but armed well enough.
Yeah, right. I think I could go out there. But then, how many guards die the first act of a horror film, Am I any bit different than them?
That is true. Yeah, there's I wanted to jump over to this other article from Sandbox with 2 X's.
Ooh.
This is the Yucca Man is a beast that stalks Marines with 29 poems. And they cover some of the stuff I was already talking about. Then there's this thing. He goes by a number of names, including the Mojave Bigfoot, the Sierra Highway Devil, and even the slightly endearing nickname, Marvin of the Mojave. Which I really enjoy. Another fun name, Marvin, the Bigfoot. His appearance isn't limited to the relatively recent arrival of the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center. The local native tribes have been telling stories of hairy devils who have lived in the deserts among the Joshua trees for as long as native tribes have been around. The area around the San Bernardino Mountains began to develop in the middle of the 20th century. It seems the wild man, the Yucca Man, were pushed out of their native habitat and headfirst into developing civilizations. Which is kind of what I was saying. Is like there is a thing that happens with these creatures out of the hills, especially down in the desert, where we aren't expanding constantly. So this is a place where this stuff could be, and you would never know. Same as the jungles,
Okay. Yep.
Then they talk about Edwards again a little bit, mentioning that there are just shit tons of sightings in the 60s and 70s. Oh, this was a fun one. They mentioned a lot of the Air Force police units went on wild goose chases in the catacombs of Edwards tunnels after men who would disappear. Just also seems really crazy.
Yo, say that again one more time because the sentence
Uh,
blew my fucking mind.
yeah, the sentence in full is U.S. Air Force air police units would be sent on wild goose chases in the catacombs of Edwards tunnels after the men who would suddenly disappear. These are men that were caught on video moving through massively secure, heavily guarded areas into the tunnels beneath where they're, building all this super advanced secret tech.
I This world never ceases to amaze and fear me, or not fear me, give me fear.
Choose. Let's see. There's another. I'm going to jump over to. This is from longreads.com, but also can be found. This is from Ken Lane, the Desert Oracle, who's a fantastic dude. I highly recommend his book, Desert Oracle, or his podcast, The Desert Oracle, or his zine. They're all solid.
Or his porn, The Desert
porn
Oracle.
Is the Desert Oracle. That's what he goes by. This is the middle of a piece about the Yucca Man. According to an 2009 article in the base newsletter Inside Edwards, the entity known as Blue Eyes was much discussed at a reunion of the 65 10th Air Police Squadron officers who worked on the base between 73 and 79, known as the 65th 10th Desert Rats. Attendees traded memories of their bizarre experiences on patrol, such as seeing Blue Eyes, the local version of a Yeti near South Base or Marvin of the Mojave, a ghost who could be seen, heard but not seen, and left size 10 sneaker prints in the sand. Lisa Camplin of the 95th Security Forces Squadron wrote in the official Edwards newsletter. So this is a get-together in 2009, and they're all just talking about, hey, you guys remember that crazy blue-eyed monster? And they all do, every single one of them.
And and every fucking one of them.
There's like a ghost one. I mean, I don't know if it's really a ghost, but it was something that was often heard but never seen, with a size 10, which is smaller than we've seen from all of the other footprints that have been found. So this might even be a fourth monster at the Edwards Air Force Base.
So it's if I'm hearing this correctly, it's that Edwards Air Force Base seems to be like possibly a portal of sorts to entry into the country for various footed creatures.
Maybe.
Or a research base for various footed creatures.
Yeah, this might be where the Umbrella Corp is housed.
Hell yeah.
This one goes on. This is the now retired Edwards guards also recalled observing unexplainable objects in the skies and seeing disappearing taillights on the dry lake beds. The Desert Rats motto, shared with the Air Force Test Center for which it served, was ad inexplorata, or towards the unknown. As with the Padres' old stories of hairy monsters living at a camp of devils along the Santa Ana and Santa Margarita rivers, written accounts of monsters in the Antelope Valley date back to the Spanish colonial era. Horace Bell, famed for his role in the frontier vigilante group called the Los Angeles Rangers, later wrote 2 influential history books about life in mid-19th century California. One of those on the old West Coast, being further reminiscences of a ranger. Sorry, I should do that with an inflection. On the old West Coast, being further reminiscences of a ranger. Tells of a shadowy winged beast at Elizabeth Lake, that deep water hole where the Sierra Pelona Mountains meet Antelope Valley. The Sag Pond was created by the San Andreas Fault, and successive generations have branded this generally welcome geographic feature, ample fresh water in the desert, as a cursed place. Supposedly given its old Spanish name by no less a figure than Junipero Serra himself, The Laguna del Diablo held an awful creature, a beast that would fly in shadow form over the rancho from the 1830s when early California legislator Pedro Carrillo, grandfather of actor Leo Carrillo, abandoned the place following a mysterious fire and general bad feelings. So this whole area, back as far as we can tell, has monsters and curses.
I like how that's where we put our base.
Well, I mean, that does. We have a Crowley worshipping magician building rocket fuel in a place where they have catacombs potentially leading to portals to a monster dimension, as far as I can tell.
Yep. I mean, straight up.
It's one location that just consistently has the weirdest shit happening. The flying monster also is potentially there was a pterodactyl that was supposedly shot down near where was it? Not Deadwood. Was it there? I forget where it was, but it was an old west pterodactyl shooting that I think we've talked about before.
We touched on it.
Yeah, it might be. They think it might have been the same one creature. But yeah, I mean that's kind of. We could probably get super deep into all the other weird history of that area, but really I just want to talk about Blue Eyes, the Yucca Sasquatch hanging at Edwards.
Oh yeah, that this sounds like we can do a deep dive on that for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more to it.
But if that's it for you, let's do some social media work to wrap up this episode.
Yes.
So on our Twitter, we got hit up by Ryan Flint, Dark Council member. He says, at Werewolf Radar, is Bigfoot part of the Fae or a spiritually evolved anthropod? What do you think, Nate? What are you thinking? Fae?
I mean,
is he a fairy? Because he's got fairy traits. He's got sharp teeth. He's hairy. A lot of Fae are hairy, but he's also pretty large. But he can also like just fade in and out of reality, which is
seems
a
to
Fae
have that
thing.
like a misty step, bark skin sort of thing going on.
Yep. But he could be spiritually evolved,
or could be an alien.
He could be like the anthropod monk, to where like his training is so advanced, Bigfoot has reached enlightenment.
Well, that's interesting. The entire Bigfoot species could just be humans that like long ago went into the forest to commune, and they've just.
Oh no, I didn't say that. I said Bigfoot learned how to meditate.
Oh.
And reached enlightenment, and now he moves like a monk in D&D, to where like he's got 60 action points, and he's just flurry of blowing everything, and fucking just like misty stepping across the battlefield, just getting out of combat, because he's our Bigfoot's peaceful.
Peaceful man.
But that is, it also leads to him being so blurry in photos, him being moving unseen and quickly and unheard. He can move with nature. He's beyond our plane of existence. He's with nature sometimes.
Right. He's achieved a level where he can slip between realities at will.
Yes. So I mean, if we have to decide, though,
I mean, is there a material distinction between someone who has achieved that level of spiritual awakening with the Fae?
Oh, Jordan would know more than me, but I can't particularly think of any like European, British, Celtic myth to where. So I mean, King Arthur was pretty chill with the Fae.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, is Bigfoot being just a spiritually attuned anthropoid the same as the Fae just being the Fae?
Oh no, the Fae are near God. They are gods. They move with their own dimension. I mean,
Right, but
They
like
have
at what
kings, I
point
guess, and stuff, but
at what point does your opened and the closeness of your spirituality to
hmm.
the natural world that allows you to do all these crazy monk moves make you also basically a god?
Oh, I mean, all of this is a god to me. I'm a mere mortal. I'm not gonna lie. I'm nothing fancy. I'm nothing fancy, you know? So I think they're both the same to me, but if I have to decide, I'm thinking Bigfoot might be a fae.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's where I would probably fall on it, just because. Well, although the Fae tend to have, they've got like rules. They usually have some kind of hard and fast rules that govern how and where they can go, things
Okay.
like that. Bigfoot does not seem to be stuck to any one region or uh, he has multiple biomes. His powers seem to change depending on what he needs to be doing.
Okay, that's fair. That's
You
fair.
know,
That
whereas
does lead him over to the spiritually evolved.
yeah, and the spiritual evolution can continue. So perhaps even if Bigfoot began as a fae, perhaps he's transgressed that categorization.
Okay. Goddamn.
Maybe Sasquatch is its own full level of spiritual connectivity beyond magic and beyond man.
Damn it, Nate. I mean, you turn me. I'm going spiritually evolved now.
The more nonsense we can pack into this, the more it makes sense.
But that's what I wanted to wrap this episode on. Some comment and discourse coming from Ryan Flint from our Twitter page, at Werewolf Radar. Hit us up if you got questions or topics for us to discuss.
Yeah, we'd love
And
to hear it. And any scary stories,
yep,
personal encounters.
yep. If you
Uh,
got a personal encounter you would like us to talk about, just hit us up. We'll keep your name anonymous. We'll have fun. We'll talk about it legitimately as well. And also hit us up on our Facebook, Instagram. Hit us up on our YouTube. Follow us everywhere. Our
yeah,
Twitch
Twitch
page. Indeed, we play D&D every Monday. That's today, if you're listening on
when
Monday.
it came out.
We're playing Curse of Strahd. We're in an epic battle. We're trying to get closing without any deaths. My character is not doing well. He is getting brutalized. The characters hate him. The enemies hate him. But I'm surviving, Hit us up there. And if you really dig what we are doing, hit us up on our Patreon. Become a Dark Council member. Get access to us hanging out every Sunday. Get access to early content in the form of grave nuggets and other paranormal rewards, such as paranormal art from Jordan and some other things. It changes every 3 months. Right now, we're giving out a mini poster. We're going to wrap that up soon and move on to maybe a full poster. We're talking with Jordan about it. We'll figure that out. That's for July, man.
Whatever it is, it's going to be pretty dope. And you will continue to receive these things as time goes on. And you get howl outs every once in a while.
You do, which I need to bring up real quick. Smooth save. Nate, keep dancing for the people. Dance.
I am
Blow
dancing,
them kisses.
dancing to the sound of the moon.
Blow them more kisses.
Blowing kisses to the moon, rhymes with moon.
All right, and now shouting out to our $5 and over patrons for the month of May. I forgot last month. That's on me, everyone. I'm on the wrong part. That's the shout out for social media. That's a separate reward.
So many rewards.
$5 and over. If you want your name shouted out, $5 and over. Dylan Gutierrez.
Ow!
Nolan Lewis.
Ow,
Abby
ow!
Klabu. Tobias Livingston.
Ow!
Carrion Soldier.
Ow!
Alicia Coy.
Ow!
Ryan Flint.
Ow,
Gloria
ow,
Gray.
ow!
Jason Sweet.
Ow!
Adam Passion. The most
Ow!
well-prepared dead guy.
Ow!
Jake Specht. Dakota
Ow,
Vincent.
ow!
Adric Hinkle.
Ow!
Jason Sweet.
Ow!
Jessica.
Whoa!
Liam Dahl.
Wow!
And
Wow!
a special howl out to our
Wow!
Chancellor of Madness, Michael Prezak. Ow!
Ow!
That's the patron shout out for last month. Another one coming this month. Get ready for it. If you want your name to be shouted out at the top of our lungs, check out our Patreon, $5 and over. Love to support you. We take the hosting fees out, some other fees for production, and then we give the rest to special civil rights causes every quarter. We're discussing what we're going to give it out to at the end of June. So if you have any hints or ideas of who you would like to see your money go to, hit us up on our Patreon or our Discord. And Nate, take us away.
Yeah, well, this is our sign off as always. Are we ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right. 1, 2,
1, 2,
3.
Punch the
the sky,
Spaceman
Spaceman
Joe.